Welcome. I'm excited to share today's special episode focusing on team building, featuring insights from our amazing panel of guests Dylan Nonaka, Pam Sato, John Speed, Taylor Bramwell, Alex Camacho, and Stacey Augustin Johnson. Let's dive into their valuable perspectives.
Enjoy the show.
I recognized at that point, because I was open to other ideas, right? I was open to looking at what people were doing on YouTube. I read books. I was listening to podcasts. A lot of times, especially in Hawaii, like everything else, like people just do what we do here and don't really look at how things are done in other places. And it became evident to me at that time that the era of the individual real estate agent doing every single aspect of the business was not the best way to do business, and it was probably going to end. And so we had a little family team, and that allowed us to leverage and multiply what we could do by 3. And like 2 years in, I kept trying to get my brother to get licensed, and because I just knew he was so capable and so intelligent, and he was like working for Pepsi selling soda, and I'm like, bro, it's not the highest and best use of your time, you know? And so he ended up burning the boats. And I tell this story too, like when you want to get into real estate, like he quit his job and then subsequently failed the real estate test 4 times without a job, you know, like but you know, if you want to dabble and you want to be, you know, you just want to give it a try, you're probably not going to make it. You got to burn the boat. So that's a whole nother life lesson. But so he ends up getting his license, and so was another force multiplier. You know, we had one more person to help kind of manage transactions, and he spent his first year just kind of helping us out with paperwork and learning the business. And so everything was humming, everything was good. You know, we probably could have done that for the next 10 years and everything would have been fine. But as life works out and fate happens, another franchise, Coldwell Banker franchise from Maui, bought the one that we had. And I'm a big vibe culture guy. We were at a small office, like 25 agents, and my stepdad pretty much ran it, but we didn't own it. And immediately, like, the vibe wasn't the same. I didn't really, you know, feel the culture of the new owners and stuff. And so I got to my broker's license at that time, because immediately when I hit 3 years, I was like, you gotta have options, right? You gotta have options. So as soon as I qualified, I got my broker's license. So when this all kind of happened around that 3-year mark, I started looking around and I was like, man, I don't know if this is the right place to stay. Maybe I should open a brokerage. Maybe I should go look into a franchise. Maybe just change offices. So I started kind of exploring, and I stumbled upon the EXP model, and there was none of that here on the Big Island yet, and there's a little bit on Oahu. And I mean, I won't get deep into that, but it's a very different business model from the real estate world, and that's one thing that hasn't changed. Is the brokerage agent relationship really has been the same for like 100 years, and nobody's innovated on it, and EXP did, and it hadn't really made it to Hawaii yet. And so when I saw that, it was like, I think I'm gonna give this a shot, because I was like, this is different, this is new. I think there's some potential here. And so that was a huge contributing factor to our success. Is that something that I go back and I tell people when they ask me, how'd you do it? How'd you grow so quickly? No matter how good of a race car driver you are, if you're in a Toyota Corolla, you're not gonna beat the Ferrari, right? And so like a lot of people, and here's a takeaway I got recently, is the worst thing you can be is a level 10 player in a level 5 opportunity, right? And a lot of people are in a level 5 opportunity, even though they're a level 10 player, and they're never going to see their full potential because of whatever it is, the operating system you're using, the business model you're in, maybe the people you're surrounded by. There's all kinds of things that can be limiting factors. No matter how good you personally are, your environment matters, the operation around you matters. And so it was in 2019, I moved over. I changed brokerages at the end of 2018, and I came to EXP in 2019 was our first full year. And the first year was okay. We did like 43 transactions, I don't know, 25 million in production, something like that. And it's really been exponential. Like it's just doubled every single year upon itself. And this year probably not going to double, but I mean by mid-year this year, we did 520 transactions last year. We had done 300 by June, end of June, for the first 6 months. So we were on track. We're on track to do 600 this year. So in a market that's declined 40%. Right. So that's a big thing I remind people of, is that if you look at everybody else in the market, they're down 30, 40, 50%. We're up 12, 15%. So that's something to be proud of. And that obviously whatever we're doing is working, right? Totally. Because we're surviving and thriving in a market that most people are hurting in. So it wasn't an overnight success. I always tell people that, it happened incrementally, but you have to give it time and give yourself grace because it doesn't happen. And the operation we have today, even though it's 4 short years later, is very different. Like, I didn't have a plan. There was no blueprint. There was no master plan. Like, we just built stuff as we needed it and figured stuff out and failed and continue to fail forward and just did stuff and didn't worry about one of my big models in life is like, done is better than perfect, right? People so often wait for something to be perfect, the timing to be right before taking any action, and they never make any progress because of that. So I drive my team crazy because I'm like, jump off the cliff and then build the plane on the way down. Like we go figure them out real fast.
There you go. So yeah. One of the things that you mentioned earlier was, the days that the realtor does all of the things. You forecasted that as being gone, right? So what kind of walk us through what your team looks like?
So to start on that, the foundation for me, right, and in all business should be, you have to provide an amazing customer experience, right? If your client experience is not amazing, you won't get referrals. You're not going to have a long-term business. And I just felt like I couldn't personally service clients to that high level all by myself and then have a lifestyle that I wanted to live. And so this is a big limiting factor for realtors. They think, I'm the only guy that can provide the amazing service that I can provide. And if you believe that, you're wrong and you will always be small, right? And so it's an ego thing. It's hard to get over, but I've been pleasantly surprised over the years that when I hand off a past client or I hand off a lead to somebody else, how much better somebody else does a job than I could have by myself, right? So if you're going to scale your operation and scale from doing, a decent realtor can do 25 or 30 transactions a year. You're not going to get that much time off, not going to be that fun, but you can do that. You're never going to get to 100, 200, 300 by yourself. It's just it's not possible. So there has to be some type of team. And so it started with just my brother and a couple of friends coming to EXP with me. We really just started with culture, and we wanted to, be available. This is a little simple thing, but it seems silly, but this is what people expect today, right? If you call me right now, I can show you property on the Big Island in 45 minutes anywhere on the island, right? Like, because I have a teammate nearby that's available that we can make that happen. That's what the consumer expects today in today's market, right? That one-click Amazon experience, right? That Uber experience. And most realtors, they cannot get anywhere near, I can show you on Monday next week, right? When you look at their calendar, it's like, but they go move on to the next guy. Like, that's why we're going to beat you every day of the week if that's how you operate. So, so that's the crux of kind of where it all started. And so what that's evolved into now is, we have about 80 agents here on the Big Island. We have like 17 over on Maui. We have 5 in Oahu. We just started an expansion team in California. So all in all, we have about 115 agents across 2 states at this point. And part of it is due to a business model that is non-restrictive, because the traditional real estate business model, if you're at a Coldwell Banker or a Century 21 or Keller Williams, like you have to operate inside of your market center. You cannot go and operate in somebody else's market center. So even if you have the big dream to expand, the business model you're in will stop you from doing that. And so then you have to reevaluate, are you in the right place? But that's how it's been. And it started with just the culture of paying it forward. When we started, we helped everybody on a small basis, and then when another person joined, everybody that was already helped felt like they had to help that person, and that person got helped, and when somebody else joined, so it's just snowballed into this thing where it's an amazing collaborative culture that, again, wasn't by design, but just kind of happened by good energy and good like-minded people, where people are overwhelmed. Like, they finally come over to the team and they're like, wow, I cannot believe how people are, the mindset of abundance and collaboration. Everybody wants to help. She's like, I've been told by this agent, like, this kind of stuff that hurts my heart. Like, that the first broker told them, if you like lock your computer before you leave, because people are going to log in and like steal your clients. And I'm like, wow, like, that's what's taught in offices. Like, that's crazy. You know what I mean?
That's
like,
wild.
I've noticed now you have a team, right? So what does that team look like? And then what has your position in your team now that you've built the support around you? What has that pushed you? What is your role now?
That's a great question. Although I would love to be in all places at all times, to be able to do everything for everyone, I've had to learn to let go and trust. So I was able to position some really talented escrow associates on my team. 2 of them I had worked with before. One we had worked in the same company, but just not. He wasn't with me on my desk
Directly,
per se.
yeah.
Right.
So we have one person who is kind of like the lead assistant. She kind of helps in the morning. We regroup. She makes sure where we need to be. And I kind of chime in on issues that I'm aware of or communication that comes into me via phone or text just to share with the group so we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
And we kind of set up our day first thing in the morning. Like, these are the top items that we need to make sure we address. This is what we're looking at. We always try to look at our transactions minimum 2 weeks out so that we're not blindsided and we're not caught off guard.
Right.
Nothing falls through the cracks. So that would be Maya's position.
She's a rock star.
She is a rock
she's
star.
awesome.
She's so
Yes. She's so young.
Yeah.
But she carries herself. I swear, she's more mature than I am.
We all need those.
She has it together.
That's awesome.
Yes. And then there's Gordy, Gordon Apo. He is really great at servicing. Really good. He's also incredibly resourceful. And he's not afraid. He's not fearful to just dive in. A little bit scary sometimes because sometimes I have to like rein him in.
Yeah.
Whoa, okay, that's awesome that you did it, but okay, let's make sure that you do X, Y,
Did
Z.
you do this?
Yeah.
Do it all correctly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Slow down before we can speed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's Angia Kahanu, whom I've worked with. Actually, we were on the same team as assistants when I started off.
Yeah.
So I've known her for over 15 years now. As long as I've been in the industry, I've always known her. She is one of those tenacious people who don't mind picking up the phone for hours trying to track down a payoff, for example.
I love that.
Yeah. You will rarely find someone who actually wants to do that.
Yeah. Unheard of.
And when you do keep them, you're like,
Exactly. Like, she's my specialist. So 9 times out of 10, if we have something that we need to get a payoff or we're trying to clear or we need to get some documentation, clear a tax lien, child support lien,
You'll put her on
she's
it.
the one who will get it, and she gets it fast.
Wow.
Like,
That's
I go
cool.
on and I try, and I'm like, okay, Mama, I call her Mama.
Yeah.
Can you try?
Can you
and
do
you
this?
know,
Yeah.
and then I feel so like an idiot because like by that afternoon she's already
She's
got
done
it,
already.
and I'm
and you're
like,
like, okay, wait, what did
like,
you
how
do?
did you?
Yeah, I know.
And she's like, oh, I just did it on. And I'm like, can you keep doing what you're doing?
You're good at that. I think you should keep doing that.
I always tell them, like, we all bring special gifts to the table.
Yes.
It's not like there's no prima donnas on our
No,
team.
no.
Everybody contributes. Everybody is equally valuable because we can't close unless everybody does their part.
Right.
Yeah, so I would say my role is to go out and build the relationships
Yeah.
in the community, and then just be there to help structure, to make sure we're setting up the transaction so that it's successful.
Yeah.
I kind of review title just to make sure if there's anything that we need to get, everybody is aware. I might not be the one that's actually doing the legwork, but
Yeah.
at least I'm making sure that
You're like big
it's
picture.
getting done.
Oversight.
Yeah, like the over.
Yeah. So now, I mean, I feel like you're more in the leadership role over your team. And so what are you doing to work on your leadership skills?
That is probably that's been one of the biggest challenges.
There you go.
I feel. I
can
am,
relate.
By
Right.
nature, I'm A-type personality. I am a control freak. I'm a neat freak. I'm semi-OCD. I like structure. I like organization. I like things to be done my way, or I like the quality of our service to be done a certain way.
Yeah.
And one of the challenges for me was figuring out what motivates each person, because I learned that what may motivate me does not translate to Maya, Gordy, or Mama.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's their reason, their why
Is different.
is completely different.
Totally different.
Investing in our people and doing, the frou-frou stuff and having the parties and having even the daily stuff with the ice cream and the the little parties and dress this way, the holidays
totally.
It's
stuff.
Aloha Shirt Friday, all that stuff.
Exactly.
It all makes a difference.
Yeah. I
So
think-
it's worth it,
Yeah.
is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. If it depends how much you want to grow.
True.
Right.
And we've got a long way to go. So, hopefully we're a lot better in 5 years than we are now.
Right.
And we're a lot better now than we were
Right.
5 years ago.
Right.
We're
Totally.
just constantly improving on what else can we do? What else do the employees need? And a lot of times it's an individual basis, People are struggling financially
Yep.
or need help. Their kid has a divorce, they need an attorney. That
Yep.
might be something I can help with.
Right.
That
100%.
I
Connection, yeah.
referred to them.
Yep.
But if we don't know their individual things, like we don't want to get in their business, but let them know that, hey, we're available for a lot more than just
A paycheck.
Paycheck.
work stuff. And so
Yeah.
we have an amazing HR director. That was like my wife's best friend, and it just turned out she's not an HR person, but she's a people person.
Love that. Yeah.
And so she's come out in the last couple of years and just been really, really amazing for Kilauea and our people. And I just gave her the, I basically said, take care of the employees, just employee advocacy and making sure that they're taken care of, because I can't
Do all of it.
at all.
No.
No,
And so
one person can.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And so my challenge is actually seeing all of the employees, because we're, distributed workforce, and it's hard
Yeah.
to, even if I go to the office, I'm seeing maybe a third, 30-40% of the office people.
Right. Not the field guys.
The field guys.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
And so I try to show up to the meetings as often as I can, and
Totally.
just connect with them so that they, that we feel like we're together,
Yeah.
and that they
Yeah,
can
totally.
approach me if they need something.
If they need to.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of business owners miss the mark on that. And I think it's in the beginning, it's kind of, you're just like grind, trying to grow. And there comes a point where you realize that if you want to go to the next level, you have to start hiring, and you do that. But sometimes we think people are robots, right? And we'll hire them, we say, do your job. And you leave them over there. And that just never works.
No.
I think everybody kind of goes through that. And I think it's so important. What I hear you describing is culture.
Yeah.
You've built a culture in your business. And I think everybody's culture is different, but it's the most important thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, you want your employees to feel comfortable enough to come with you with those issues, So yeah, we have just started kind of growing in that capacity. I mean, over the last year or so, and brought on team members. And that's one thing. They need to be trained constantly. They need to be heard. They need to be included, right? And if you do that well, you retain employees so much more. But I
Right.
think it's something you have to really be conscious about.
Well, and in addition to culture, I think a huge part of growing a business is delegation and knowing when you need to delegate something, and then bringing on the right person to delegate that task to, like your leadership team, and how you could spread responsibility, which actually increased accessibility for all your employees too, So it was a win-win. But as entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, really, in the beginning, when we're bootstrapping everything and you're wearing all the hats, it's sometimes hard to let go of control over things. But the biggest shift after we learned we were a marketing company and real estate was a byproduct was learning how to delegate accordingly and have systems in place for our employees so that they can actually thrive in that role. Because now I don't have to wear all the hats, which was like amazing. And so really, if you want to grow your business, it's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's something that John does well. Like, we've known each other for a long time, and I did my stint at door to door, and I ran a sales team in college, and I came back, and it's been fun over the last 5 years or so since I came back full time, because the company's grown a lot in those 5 years. And I think there's a few key things that John did as kind of the visionary, the owner and the president of the company. And now we're 7 of us in the leadership team, including John. And we were the Magnificent Seven. Now we're the Special Sauce is like the nickname. Our text group is the Special Sauce. And so it's like fun little things like that, right? You know, but that's what's cool about the team. We're all pretty different. Half of it's women, and we have different perspectives. And that's something that John does that, kind of going back to what I said about when he brought me on, like I had no background in marketing besides some sales. He's like, go figure it, go find out. He gave me the room to kind of figure it out.
He empowered you.
And also like you can feel he kind of believes in you, like he cares,
Right.
And so I think how it's kind of structured with the different departments, it feels almost like entrepreneurs almost a little bit like building a business within the business. And he's all about it, like and
Love that.
how to do that. And I think one key thing that you brought on a few years ago was traction. EOS, entrepreneur. I don't know if you know that one.
So you move off on your own, you start your own company. How quickly from that point did you start actually building a team?
Because it was all you though, right? In the beginning, all solo.
Yeah, I had a virtual assistant, and then I had someone help me out a little bit in house, but it wasn't a big team at all. It was just me and like a couple people.
Right. So when did you start building a team, and then what was the few things that made you decide to do that? Like, how did you know it was a good time to start?
Yeah, well, around the time that I left that second company and I started my own company, I went to a mastermind. That was the one when I went with Brandon Turner. And I met a lot of people on there that had teams, had companies, I was definitely the smallest fish in the room, or one of the smallest fish of the room, of like 30 people. And so that exposed me to a lot of people that had already built teams, and they had a lot of peace of mind. I recall thinking about that, where I'm just antsy.
Frantic,
I'm just like, I'm not trying to get after. I'm trying to prove that I could even be in the same conversation with some of these high level people.
Yeah.
And then I just remember thinking, like, these people just seem all so calm.
Yeah.
Like, they're just like
peace.
They have, and granted, they all obviously have challenges, problems, and all that, but I just sensed that like I was missing something. Like I don't have what they have, which is an actual business, or people that are working behind the scenes and are helping me accomplish this and grow this company and do that. Like I don't have that yet. I have, I had multiple deals. I was flipping 2-3 houses at once. I was making really good money, mid 6 figures in there. And I was already like doing well, but it's not like I had a team. I was still involved in almost every part of the business.
Yep.
I only had a little bit of help here and there. And once I saw that, I was like, you know what? I want to do that. And in that mastermind, they also were very specific. Like, how many people do you want to have working for you? They know exactly how many deals are you doing? How much revenue? Like very specific things. So then that way, when I left that, I went with the real specific goal. Like I'm building this size company with this much revenue, with this many teammates. And then it was just a matter of finding those people and attracting them and hiring them and training them and all that, going forward.
How did you find your A players?
So I would say the first A player that I found was Will. I know you guys. So credit to Will. Shout out to Will.
Shout out Will.
Shout out. My guy, dude. My work wife. I was joking to say that. No, but he's absolute just A player, closer, Top Gun. So I known him for some time, and then he's seen some of my social media stuff. He was working for, actually still does, the LA Chargers. Yep. And this guy's a top salesperson there. And he's like, hey, you know what? I like what you're working on. You should come host this meetup over here, in my location. And he was going to try to sell me and all my investor friends like some tickets. Right? Yeah. And then we started connecting, and then he really liked what I was working on, and then he actually got attracted more onto the real estate. He was trying to close me. And then I ended up
closed him.
Yeah. Because around that time is when I was leaving to Hawaii. So it was like, hey, bro, do you want to come and do this thing with me and help me grow this company? And he was ready to go.
Nice.
That's so cool.
Okay, so you found Will. I'm sure that was a game changer for your business at that point. Who was the next person you brought onto the team?
So next behind that is we actually fired our virtual assistant, our main person there in that department. They were handling a lot of the operations and admin work. And then we hired a rock star virtual assistant next. And that person really helped to start to systematize things with us. She was super helpful and also coordinated a lot of my, I would call kind of business
travel, but since I travel often and then also have a bit of a hectic schedule, she really started getting me on kind of like the calendar and then holding me more accountable.
She regimented you.
Yeah, exactly. And so I say that was like, it was like back to back kind of, there was around the same time. But first Will came on board. I had other people that worked with me at that time, but he was just like an A player right from the beginning.
Yeah.
So what does Will do? Like, what is his role in your business?
Yeah, so initially his first role was acquisitions. Since I was moving to Hawaii, he was going to be running acquisitions in Southern California. We were still going to be buying there and predominantly buying there. I was just moving to Hawaii to be closer to that mentor and then also just get away from LA during the pandemic. And I had sold my property there, my primary residence. But Will stepped in to run the acquisitions department because we don't run a virtual completely company. We're buying and acquiring property. We predominantly flip, and then we hold what we, whatever we don't want to flip.
Yeah.
And so I knew I wasn't going to be able to do the same type of acquisitions. So I needed somebody to replace me, another closer, somebody else, deal maker, someone to go make it happen. And that turned out to be Will. He has since then grown in his role with the team, the company, and into more of a partner, more of a CEO, kind of running the operations and getting more into the details of just growing the company and then holding the team accountable for all the roles that we have now. So it's he's really grown with us over the last 2 years. Like he's at where I was after 4 years, after 2 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does your team look like today?
So really, it's just me, I don't even know what to call him. He just like does everything. I'm just going to call him my assistant, really. My personal assistant.
Okay.
And then my social media manager. And then I have a full-time editor as well.
So four, team of four.
Of us, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's solid.
Yeah.
Any team member that is solid is leaps and bounds more beneficial than being a one-person show.
Yeah, so this assistant that I have too, he's called for me. He's done the sales side. He's done project management. And it's been like a year and a half of just trying to figure out where he sits. Me learning how to be a leader and him just being so flexible with me. I knew that I didn't want to let him go when I knew I was going to scrap the whole cold calling system.
Yeah.
So we sat down and I asked him, like, what did you enjoy doing? Because you've pretty much done everything.
Yeah.
And so he really likes just like running around and having a different day every day. So I'm like, perfect, because I don't really want to run around too much. Like if you can do all these things that I just put it on my notes on a to-do list and all of a sudden all my tasks are checked off for the day, like done.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's awesome.
So
Okay,
he's
so
awesome.
where are you finding your team members? Where has been like the best way you've been able to find good people for your team or for your partnerships?
Yeah, mostly social media. So this guy, he had reached out to me to help me with my Turo fleet when I was first getting started. He just got his realtor license, hadn't hung his license yet. And I told him, I said, look, come work for me. He managed my Turo for like 3 months. I was like, dude, I really like you. I think you have good character. Skill can be taught, but character cannot. I want you to come work for me. Come, don't hang your license. Come call for me for 3 months and then let me know if you still want to go hang your license. And we've been together ever since.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you found a position for him. Like, you know that he is a valuable asset and you scrapped what he was doing, right? But you understand that, okay, this is somebody that I want on our team, and you can, like, we literally make a position for him.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, it's super cool.
And I feel like a lot of people would do that too, because like you said, good people are really hard to find. And if you find them, you do whatever it takes to keep them,
Exactly.
and they show themselves over time,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, the guy is so loyal. He straight up told me that he's like, we're not really getting any leads. If you don't want to pay me for a couple months, it's okay. I'm like, no, dude, I'm going to pay you
for your
regardless.
time. Yeah. So what is like the main thing that you're looking for in your company culture and the characteristics of your team members? Is it loyalty? Is it something else?
I think loyalty is a huge one. I also really like transparency, honesty and transparency. Like, I will tell you if something's not working and you need to tell me as well. Like, don't be afraid of me. That's a big thing, is a lot of people are afraid of me, and like, we just cannot have that. I mean, I need you to be able to tell me straight.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
So loyalty, honesty, and then just like being able to train daily, really just constantly being okay with improving. Not okay with, like, you need to improve. Right?
Yeah.
So that, I mean, that's really the main three things is, like I said, character cannot be taught.
Yeah.
Skill.
I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like, and that happens, let me ask you this, does it happen organically? Or is it something that you as a leader in your business are constantly trying to nurture those relationships?
I'm constantly trying to nurture those relationships because people don't see their potential. And it takes sometimes multiple touches for them to realize, like, wow, I can actually do more than I thought. Like, I'm not actually destined to just work a 9-to-5 job, and like seeing your vision as in like my vision, I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
So I think for me, like, to bring more people on, again, it's being loud about what I'm doing so that people can see my vision and want to come along with it. As far as like, his name's Dayton specifically, he loved that I didn't sell to not local people. So he was like super for that. And that was like a big thing that we really connected on. And so, yeah, we've just been together ever since.
That's cool. Yeah.